The Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country issue 2. Connor read this one.
I did. Tynan Forth writing, Lissandro Atheron, and Andrea Sorrentino on art, which was a surprise. Sorrentino doing the nightmare sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Say nightmares, it's just in the dreaming, but they were describing them as nightmare sequences, but it was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it, because this was solicited as Christian Ward, who I also like and was looking forward to. But I'm never going to be disappointed by 4 pages of Sorrentino art in the middle of my comic. That's like always a plus. But yeah, no, this issue, it picks up with the Corinthian going to see Flynn, kind of looking at her paintings and of the smiling man, and questioning and trying to learn who this is, because it becomes clear that the Corinthian is not the smiling man, despite the very similar shared features with the like the teeth eyes, for example. So they have a conversation. They go out for a meal, and then they sit down, and he just, at first she's just bugging him like, do the eyes work? Can you see out of them? He's like, yeah. She's like, but how? He's like, because they're eyes. He's like, but they're mouths. He's like, yeah, but they're my eyes, so I see out of them. So just don't question it so much. It's dream logic. If she goes along with it, and he's realizing that, okay, she sees this smiling man not necessarily when she's dreaming, but also when she's awake. Like she mentioned walking down a hallway or in the subway or in an empty street at night, and that other people have seen him as well. But the meeting is interrupted because Lucian shows up from the dream and grabs the Corinthian and is like, right, come on, back we go. And this is where we cut into the dreaming section of like, come on, you're not allowed out there. But there's a little sequence about the library, and Lucian is the librarian, so this makes sense here.
So I was going to ask you who
he's
Lucian
the librarian
is.
in the dreaming. He's kind of a recurring Sandman character.
Gotcha.
It's the sort of thing where in this book you wouldn't be questioning it too much. It kind of works in context, but he's a recurring character. But the library is in this this particular library. It's every book that's never written. So they describe all the books that you think about, maybe I'll write that. You have an idea for a story, but you never get around to making. They're all in this library, and they're not fully formed. They kind of are just those ideas and feelings that are kind of then transcribed onto the pages here. But in it, he finds other books. He gets Lucian to do some cross-referencing, and it is like books about the Smiling Man by people who have never been visited by the Corinthian, or who hadn't heard of the Corinthian from someone else. So it was definitely like, okay, there's no way they could have been dreaming about him. So this Smiling Man is something else. And they found, I think, 14 of these, and most of them have died pretty horrifically in the last 6 weeks, which was obviously we saw some of teased at the end of the last issue with those two figures, like the doll face kind of guy and the big lurch guy. And that's kind of basically the end of this issue is Flynn going home and all her paintings in her apartment are on fire. Yeah. Just the end of this issue is them the two showing up in her apartment and being like, yeah, we'd like to have a word. And the word is run. And they're just standing there ominously, and it's very creepy while her apartment is kind of burning around her. Or the paintings specifically, but it has the effect of looking like the apartment's on fire. And maybe it'll spread, I don't know. But very strong issue.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go pick this up because I really enjoyed the first. Didn't realize this one was out.
Yeah, so. It was a super quick read as well, because it is basically three sections. You got the first section, which is Corinthian and Flynn. You've got Lucian and Corinthian, and then you've just got this little kind of few pages with Flynn at the end. But it's got such great atmosphere. Art's fantastic from both artists. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the rest of this book and where it goes. And I really like the way that dreaming sequences from Sorrentino. They kind of they play in. Well, this one was Sorrentino last time. Last time it was the story about that guy in the cabin, seeing the Corinthian. This time, Sorrentino his stuff is drawing one of the stories from one of the books like of what the Corinthian did, or like a different version of the Corinthian, because that is something that's in Sandman history. You know, was when Dream captured the Corinthian, he basically destroyed him and then remade him as he was supposed to be, so he's slightly less evil and more just doing his job again.
And so I've never read any of these, but it just seems like what we know about Tynan and the idea that nightmares aren't bad, they're just a part of life. And It feels like that's the Corinthian in this form.
Yes, the Corinthian as it's supposed to be here is definitely something that is healthy. I guess he's not sinister. He's not sinister or evil in the same way that he was when he was first introduced. He kind of gone rogue when he was first introduced.
Right.
But this version of him is more just, no, this is what it's supposed to be. Like, people have nightmares. This is kind of the boogeyman that haunts your nightmares. But that's not in. You know, he's doing
He's doing his job. Right.
Kind of Wreck-It Ralph, maybe, if you want to go.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He's kind of like a chaotic neutral. Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. He plays by his rules, but he's not. You know, he's not aligned.
We would see him as a bad thing,
right?
Because we would be scared of him. But that is something that we need nightmares to balance out the dreams. Is kind of the idea,
right?
Yeah. The stuff, it's really interesting. I really like the way these nightmare sequences are tying in with the themes of each issue, and they continue with all the stellar guest artists.
Yeah.
No, it's a.
You had me at Sorrentino. Like I heard Sorrentino doing this.
Like I say, it's only like 4 pages, but I think it was the same last time. But it works as these interludes because they are like so different. And Sorrentino brings his crazy layouts. There's a double-page spread from him with it's like an open book with like all these fragments of the story popping out of this book, and it's so good. Yeah, I give this like an 8.5.